Hi, I'm Daniel Shanahan, and in this video I'm going to show how I've incorporated OnWindowTransaction in NLD Template. NLD Template is a free FileMaker file that you can download, and the link is in the comments. OnWindowTransaction is a fairly new trigger from FileMaker, and it enables us to create a changelog, and that's what I've done here. So let's take a look. One of the first things we need, of course, if we're having a changelog, is a changelog table. I have a dedicated table for changelog, and some fields you could see that it's empty. Next thing we need, let's see, what else do we need? We're going to need some scripts. So I have a folder here with a series of scripts. There's a README that you can go through, and this is the script we're going to call, and we'll walk through this to see it in action. There's not too many scripts. There's really just 3 scripts that make this happen. These are the 3 scripts, and then we want to display the changelog once we're on the layout. And I have a button here that does that. Of course, I don't have any records that have changed, so there's nothing to see. I need to tell FileMaker that I want the changelog on, and to do that, go to the File Options, Script Trigger, and OnWindowTransaction. And you can see it's going to ask what script we want to run, and we just looked at that. The script itself does not, it's a little unusual for a FileMaker. When we call a script, we do not have the option to set a parameter. So there are no parameters that we set. There is a parameter that comes, but FileMaker is going to send it automatically, and that parameter is a JSON object. Then we need a field. Let me talk about this field for a moment. I'm going to get rid of this, and this section can remain empty. In order for it to remain empty, the table that we want to capture changes must have a field exactly called this, OnWindowTransaction, no spaces. If I have that, OnWindowTransaction, I can leave this section, this space name for a field, I could leave that empty. Now, I don't want this here. I want to push this down with my utility fields. And so in order to push that down, I prepend my utility fields with 2 Z's. So I'll do that. Now, as soon as I click OK, now this won't work. It doesn't know that field, for all intents purposes, is not there. So FileMaker doesn't know what to look for. And so I have to come in here and tell it the name I've given that field. And that could be any name now that you've declared it here. In that field itself, that field is an unstored calculation. I have it as a text, and I want FileMaker to send all the modified fields, and then I also want the primary key. FileMaker is going to send some other things in that JSON object, including the record ID. I don't use the record ID here, so that record ID is not useful to me, but it does send it. So if you have a field, you can use the record ID. That's a number, and you would just do something like this. And then you would be able to, now you would be able to compare it, parse it out, do something like that. I don't use it, so I'm going to cancel out of that. Now, let's just see what I did. I do have this. Okay, so that's good. FileMaker is, now what I've just told FileMaker is I want all the modified fields from this table, the company table. I also have that on the contact table. You can see it on the contact table. I don't have it on all the tables. So for example, project table does not have that OnWindowTransaction. So I'm not capturing any changes on the project table, but I am on the company and the contact table. I don't want all the changes for here. I just want some of the changes here. And so FileMaker is going to send me a list because of this, get modified fields. FileMaker is going to send me a list of all the fields that have been modified in the time before it commits. What I want to do is go through that list of fields and say which fields I really want to capture for the changelog, and the other fields can be disregarded. To do that, what I've done is created a script called fields to track. And fields to track is going to create a list of all the fields that I want to capture for the changelog. I want to write these changes. And so what I do here is I get the fully qualified field, and it'll return this fully qualified field. And then when I get down here, I'm going to strip out the table name and those double colons. So I'm just going to get the field name. And then once I have the field name, I'm going to do a comparison and make sure that I'm only writing to what I want to write to. That's pretty much it. Once I know what I want to write to, and all of that happens here in this main script. Once I know what I want to write to, I create a very simple set of values, rows, and then I pass that to this script, and it parses it and creates records. So we will do, let's do another record here, a shorter one here. I'm going to make changes to every field. I'm not going to touch the industry. The industry is a related table. So I'll make changes to every field. I should have had the debugger on, but it's okay because we haven't committed the record yet. So now I will commit the record, and the record and OnWindowTransaction happens once the record is committed. So now we are in this parse window transaction, and now we set a variable for the parameter. Remember, we did not manually set a script parameter. FileMaker prepared a JSON object to send. And now we can look at that JSON object. This is the JSON object. It tells us the file name, the table name. It tells us one of three operations: new, modified, or deleted. It tells us the record number, the record ID. So if you do track the record ID, you can use it because it is returned. Now in this section, we get to the things that I put in that calculation field. All of this other stuff, I didn't do anything to make this happen. FileMaker did that for me. But on this line, this is that calculation field. And in that calculation field, if you'll recall, I had a list function, and in the list function on the top I had the ID. This is my ID up here. And then I had the get modified fields function. So all of the modified fields are listed here, including the timestamp and the modified by, the utility fields. This /r is a return. Those are all the things that are getting changed, or that were changed. So there's that JSON object. Now, all in this top part, and I'm going to go through it quickly, is just a list of all I'm just parsing through this JSON object. The field name, the layout table name, the table name, all that stuff is already here, and I'm just parsing it out. So I'm going to do that, just pop over that, and you can see it all comes out. Now, I want to go to that fields to track, and I'll come in here. I'm in the company table, and these are the fully qualified fields that I want to track. I need to do a comparison, but the comparison is just the field name, not the table name. So I'll come back here, and now the fields to track is where I strip out that table name. So we have the fully qualified fields, and now, so the fully qualified fields are here, and now the fields to track are there. That's what I'm going to pass out of the script. Pass that. Now we get the changelog fields. These are the fields that are in the JSON object. These are all the things here. These are what I'm calling the changelog fields. I do have the record ID here. I'm not using it. I don't need it in the script, but it's there, so I parse it out. I think it's a low cost, but I'm not using it, so really it's not necessary. I am using the primary key to identify the unique record. Now, on this, so here are the changelog fields. These are the fields that FileMaker told me were modified, and these are the fields that I identified as wanting to change. This fields to record variable uses the filter values and compares the two. So now when I do this, I have fields to record. These are the things that I'm going to, I'm going to make a changelog only for these fields. This is where there's commonality between the two, or the dark section of a Venn diagram, if you will. And then I count those. Down here, I'm doing some this is really just window management. In NLD Template, I have it so that the user will view related records in a card. So when a change is made, I have to know if a card window is open or not. Because I'm making the change to the changelog table inside a card window. So even if a card window is not open, like it's not here, I'm going to open a card window, go to the changelog, make the changes, and then close that window. That's everything happening here. This is all card window. And if a card window is open, then I will get an error that tells me the window is already open. So that's how I'm managing that. The next thing I need to do is get the field value. FileMaker gives me the name of the field that was modified, but it doesn't tell me the modification. So I need to get the field value. I need to get what was changed. And of course, I only want to get the field value for the things that I'm tracking. So I take this fields to record, and I loop through here, and I make a variable that creates another value, set of rows. I'm going to put a marker here and then go down here, and then we could see the changelog rows. So I could see that there's company name, and this is what the new value is. I'll do that again. There are, how many are there? 4. There's 4 records to count. Let me just put another marker here. So I'll get those 4, and so now I have a list of the field name and the field value. And when I write, I'll just loop through that. Now we're ready to do that. All I'm doing here is just packaging up some other data, some metadata, some changelog data, and combining that. Let's see what that is. Metadata is the table name, layout name, primary key, and operation. Remember, operation is new, modified, and deleted. And then the changelog data, I'm creating a JSON object with the metadata and then those changelog rows that we just saw. And I'm going to pass that to the create changelog script. Here's the changelog data that just came in, and it's a JSON object. So I'll parse that out. And here's the card window that opened. Let's see, I'm going to parse that out. And what do I have here? I have these changelog rows. So really I packaged them up, moved them to another script, and unpackaged them. That's all I did. And now I'm going to go through those rows. So I have the row counts. The row count is still 4, and I have these, and I want to go through these and create a record in the changelog. Here's the field name, and here's the field value. And that's all that this is doing. Really pretty simple. And I'll just create here. Of course, we have to change our context, which we're doing now. So we'll go here. It's a blank field. Most of my dev fields are blank, and then I just loop through here. And I think probably that's it. And then back to window management. Since I was not in an open card window to begin with, there was no card window. I know that, so I can safely close this one. So what happened now is that the changelog window, card window closed. When the changelog card window closed, you could see that here. FileMaker packaged up a JSON object. It's hard for me to see that. You could see that here on the tooltip type thing. So FileMaker created, packaged up this for the changelog. I'm not tracking anything on the changelog. And so when we went to fields to track, it did not find a changelog table. And so it was empty. that means when I do that comparison, fields to record is empty. There's no match, meaning that this will be 0. If it's 0, then I exit the script. I have to do that. So one of the things about OnWindowTransaction is even though I'm tracking some things in the company table and the contact table, this will fire all the time, every time, not all the time. This will fire every time that a record commits. And you can think of all the times a record commits: when somebody clicks out of the field onto a layout, when somebody leaves a layout, when somebody closes a window. All of those things commit a record when there's a record commit in a script step. So all of those things will commit a record. I don't know the cost of that. I think that's happening in memory on the local machine. I don't know the cost of that. If you know the cost of that, if that's introduces a lot of latency, I'd love to hear your comments down below. I'm going to close this out, and we could take a look at. Oh, we could do it here. We could do a nice version. So now there is something to look at here. There are some modified fields here. And this tells us what the value changed to. We don't get a chance to capture the value before it changed. So in order to do that, we just have to rely on previous records. So for example, when I remove this and I commit the record, another change log was written. And now I could see that this is the more recent one, and it used to be this. And of course, I could query this data, filter it out, that sort of thing. And that's how OnWindowTransaction is implemented in NLD Template. Again, NLD Template is a free file. Find the download link in the comments. Thanks.